Hello! Today I want to talk about my randomly sized Baratheon list, and it is not a typical Baratheon list, as in it doesn't use lots of tough units to grind down the opponent. It mostly focuses on speed and high mobility. So, as you can see, first unit are the Rose Knights with Loras Tyrell in them, who is my commander. Then we have two units of Thornwatch, one with Courtney Penrose, Riders of Highgarden, and then three NCUs, Olenna Tyrell, Marjorie Tyrell, and Shira. So let's look at the first unit, the Rose Knights. So they have only 4 movement, but they have a 3 up armor and a 5 up morale. They are melee attackers on a 3+ with 7, 6, and 5 attacks, which is pretty cool. Their first ability is each time before they attack, they get to heal 1, which is very good. And then it combos immediately with their second ability, Deadly Bloom. Each time they get healed, in whichever way, they deal 1 wound to an opponent in melee combat. Let's look at what Loras Tyrell does. His first ability is Expert Duelist. Each time you hit your opponent, either you deal an extra wound or you can roll on a 5+. You kill enemy infantry attachment. If this triggers, this is very strong, but you only have a 1 in 3 chance, which is not so high, and it's probably more worth it to just take the extra wound. Then Dauntless. Whenever they make a morale test or panic test, they heal by 1. This combo is of course great with Deadly Bloom, because if they heal 1, your opponent gets 1 wound. What does it mean? This unit is very slow, with only 4 movement, but it's extremely tough and tanky, especially since it has 2 heals basically built in, and it will grind down basically any opponent who goes into melee with this, because of the auto wound spam. This is not hits, this is wounds, which means even if your opponent has a 3 up armor or even 2 up armor, you deal 1 wound every time. You can grind down your opponent often in 2 or 3 rounds with all the healing support that's in this list. So my idea usually for this is I move them onto the center objective at the beginning of the game, and yeah, grind anyone down who wants to contest the center objective. It usually works very well. Then let's look at the second unit, the Thornwatch. This is an incredible unit. It has lots going on. First you see 6 movement, very quick. It has only 5 armor, which is not very good, and 6 morale, which is also okay, but it's not the best. Then you see it has ranged and melee capabilities, but I want to say this is a mainly melee unit, and I think it should be used as such. But of course it's very flexible because it can also shoot, but I think you should really play this mainly as a melee unit, not as a ranged support. So, both melee and ranged hit on a 3+, and the crossbow has Sundering, which is nice. But the real deal comes with in melee with a Swift Strike. After they attacked the opponent, they can retreat immediately, which is in itself extremely good in my opinion. It gives you lots of flexibility, you can reposition a lot. It makes also very hard for your opponent to catch them and try to grind them down, because I hit you, I escape again. It's just lots of mobility, lots of movement, it's just really, really good. And on top of that, regroup. Each time you retreat, you heal 2 wounds plus 1 wound for each destroyed rank. This is very, very, very strong. This makes this unit extremely resilient. If you're down to the last rank and you hit your opponent, you heal 4. Then you hit opponent again, you heal 3 again. It's just very strong, it makes them very resilient, it makes it super difficult for your opponents to just kill them, because you can hit your opponent, run away, charge later, run away again, heal. It's just a very annoying unit. Because also you don't have to just retreat back, you can retreat to the sides and threaten to go into your opponent's side, so he has to do something about it. He has to pivot, but then he opens up at a different place. It's just an extremely annoying unit, even though they don't have any great modifiers on their melee, like no Sundering, no crit blow, no precision. It still deals lots of damage, and just the movement and mobility alone makes this just really, really good. Being able to constantly reposition your units is a very strong feature, honestly. In one of those units I have Courtney Penrose as my attachment. He's extremely strong in my opinion. What's his ability? Main ability is you can override the effect of the crown if you take it and get a free charge. So think about this, you take the crown, you charge your opponent, you retreat out, you heal, then it's your opponent's turn, then it's your turn again, and then they are not activated yet, so you can charge again. and deal damage and retreat again. So this makes them just incredibly mobile. I've had this unit basically go across the whole table in one round because I was able to utilize movement and charge twice. The other ability of Courtney Penrose, the tactical reposition, also super strong. One unit in short range gets to shift by 3 inches. It's just very strong. You can of course use it to shift themselves. You can use it to shift an allied unit. It's just very good overall. And then not to forget, of course, again, they still have that ranged capability with Sundering actually. So it really forces your opponent to do something about it, because if he doesn't, I just go 6 inches next to one of his units and just constantly shoot him with my crossbow. So he has to attack. But if he attacks, I attack back and I retreat and heal again. And basically I completely control the tempo with this unit, honestly. Third unit, the Riders of Highgarden. Extremely strong cavalry, you see, 6 inches of movement. 5 up armor, pretty fragile, also okay morale, not the greatest. Then the lance itself is not the strongest, but if you see, when you're charging you gain +1 to hit, and you gain +2 attack dice for each remaining rank, meaning if it's full ranks on a charge, you have 9 dice on a 3+ with Sundering. And of course rerolling because you're charging. It's incredible damage. It could be used as a sort of can opener to really deal massive damage in an initial strike, but I like to use it more as a finisher. Why I like to use it as a finisher? Because in prolonged melee combat this unit is really bad. You only have 5 up armor, and you see if you're in prolonged melee combat you only have 5 dice on a 4+, which is not very good. So basically you want to prevent prolonged combat, you want to go in, hit your opponent and go out again. Or preferably have the opponent die, then you get your search forth move. I mainly use this unit to zone enemies, because basically this has 13-inch auto charge range. So I usually use it to zone the opponents and protect my flank. Especially I try to protect my Rose Knights with this. Okay, let's look at the NCU choice. First of all is Olenna Tyrell. She's just too good not to take. What she basically does, she has 2 abilities, but only one is mainly used in my opinion. If she jumps on a tactic board, you can turn off the abilities of an enemy NCU. This is just extremely strong. Many armies rely on an NCU to enable some sort of combo. You can just shut it down immediately. It's super annoying. If your opponent wants to use an NCU very bad, he has to do it when it's his first turn, and he immediately has to use this NCU, because otherwise he will jump on the tactic board with Olenna and just shut that NCU down. The other ability is you can select an enemy NCU, and if he jumps on the board, you target one enemy combat unit, they suffer D3 hits and become weakened. Of course, it's very situational. In some situations you can really use to give an opponent weakened token. The D3 hits is not so great in my opinion. I think overall just turning off an enemy NCU is just extremely strong. Second, Marjorie Tyrell. She's there for additional healing. Every time she jumps on the board, she heals one unit by 1. And if that unit is in melee combat, you can give the opponent vulnerable tokens. This is basically most of the time to support the Rose Knights, because each additional healing will generate an auto wound for the opponent. And vulnerable is really nice because the Rose Knights themselves don't have Sundering or anything. Usually I run Shira Errol in my last NCU slot. She's kind of a multi-tool, it's nice. If she jumps on the crown, we can heal again, which is perfect for Rose Knights. If we jump on the letters, we can remove a token from one of our units, which means that even if your opponent has the first turn, you get the chance to remove a token from one of your units, which is very cool. And on the bags, we can give the opponent a token. It's also pretty cool. So it's kind of like a multi-tool or Swiss Army knife. I like to bring her, but this is kind of the NCU slot with the most wiggle room. For example, I have here Lord Varys. He's also a very cool choice for the third NCU slot. Why? Because even if your opponent jumps on the bags, you can heal 2 wounds. Of course, again, this is most relevant, I think, for the Rose Knights, because again, they want to fight in the middle, fight with usually tough opponents, and you want to get that auto wounds just going all game. Okay, I have saved the commander cards for last, because I wanted to talk through all of the units first. First card, Loved by the Small Folk. Basically, when an enemy is performing a melee attack, before rolling attack dice, they have to do a morale test. If they fail it, they become vulnerable and weak. And if they're short range to low RAS, they gain -2. It's nice, it gets you some defensive capabilities perhaps. Of course, it's a bit luck dependent because opponent has to do morale test. Second card, Overgrowth. I really love it. Basically, you give it one of your units. They have to pass morale test for it to work, and then the card stays until the end of the game. And each time an opponent tries to attack your unit, ranged or melee, doesn't matter, they get 1 hit plus 1 hit for each of your remaining ranks. So if your full rank enemy gets 4 hits before he can attack. This is incredibly strong, especially I like it on the Thornwatch because opponents love to attack the Thornwatch because it's only 5 of armor, but they get auto hits every time. And because the Thornwatch can heal itself so good, you are very often on at least 2 ranks, most of the time actually 3 ranks, so you get that full benefit. This combo will really just drive most opponents mad, because they want to attack your Thornwatch, they have to take 3 or 4 hits, then they maybe bring it down to 2 or even 1 rank, you hit them, you heal again, you're basically on the same ranks as before, your opponent wants to hit them again, they have to again take those hits. It's extremely strong, especially early in the game. And then last card, Growing Strong. When a friendly combat unit activates, the opponent becomes vulnerable and they heal 1 wound plus 1 wound for each destroyed rank. I think this is most strong again in the Rose Knights just because it's a heal. Healing on Rose Knights is really the MVP in this list. That's why I really try to maximize healing for Rose Knights. I've said it now many times, but that's very good. Of course, this can also be used in the Thornwatch from time to time. Giving your opponent vulnerable token is usually very strong. So this is my list. I hope you enjoyed this. I found this list really to be very strong because it just gives me so much movement and mobility over the board. I can dictate the pace, and many people don't know how to play against this in my opinion. So if you have any thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments. Until next time.